Hey everybody, and welcome to part 3 of our deep dive into the Cyberpunk 2077 romance companions, romance quests, romance NPCs, whatever you want to call it. Welcome back. If you've been listening to this series since part 1, then you know what it's all about. If not, well, you better listen to the first couple of parts, and you can find the link to those in the description below. Anyway, we're going to dive back into the discussion I had with Timebean, Lady Reaver, two fantastic members of our Discord community, and MoonTAGG, of course. And today we're going to dive a little deeper into the endings, so spoiler warning. Plus we're going to discuss whether or not there were more romance companions and endings planned. So without further delay, here's part 3. Tell me if you agree with this statement. I feel like there were more. I feel like they promised more, and I feel like they intended to deliver more in terms of the romances. And for time or whatever reason, those just didn't happen. I mean, we know, like Timebean pointed out, we know now that you were, like, they've programmed it in, dialogue and everything, for male V to romance Judy. It's literally a one line of code that switches it on or off. And there's a video online now you can go watch where someone switched it back on and plays through that. And male V has, like, he's speaking the lines. So they initially planned for that.
I don't understand why they cut that. I mean, like, why not give the guys, why not just have the option in there and still have her be, romanceable by the female V? I don't see why that would hurt anybody's feelings or change anything. And it would give some players some more choice. I mean, why not? It's so weird that they
perhaps. And even if you do want to say, okay, Judy's only interested in women. Well, what if you're playing a female character who's interested in women and you don't like Judy's personality?
Yeah.
Whereas, you might like somebody, another character more. I feel like there should have been at least 2 options for each if you're going to go that way, as opposed to, like, say, if you could, as anybody, romance any of the 4, well, then that's a little different. Then you can pick the one you like.
That's how they did in Dragon Age Origins, right? You had Liliana, who was bisexual, Morrigan, who was straight, Alistair, who was straight, and Zevran, who was bisexual. So whether you played as a male or a female, or whether you are a male or a female, you had 2 options. And they were perfectly defined characters. They were amazing. They were really fun to romance. I romanced all of them several times.
I was expecting there to be way more. I was expecting there to be at least 8 romanceable companions. Well, as soon as they said that each one has, is only attracted to a certain type, well, I was expecting, okay, there's got to be at least 8 characters.
Oh.
But no, they only have one for each.
And Claire in there as romanceable characters and had Judy be bi and maybe did a couple of other things, because she obviously was in the beginning. I'm not saying that they should rewrite their character. They wrote it like that in the beginning. That right there would probably solve a lot of your problems. Like, people would have 2 options.
I actually, there was actually something interesting that someone pointed out. With the 4 romance options, there was actually one person who said that he didn't like any of the options. Like, he was not attracted to anybody. And that raises a question about, like, variety.
Well, there's always
everyone
melanin.
has. I mean, I do love me a sexy AI guy.
Yeah, he's blue. He's blue. He's cold. He's bald.
All I'm saying is that everyone has different preferences, and the only 4 options, like, of course you're gonna have someone who, or more people who don't like the 4 options because there's not enough variety for people to choose someone they like. What if they even like, I don't know, Saul? What if someone wanted to romance Saul? They can't, because he's not even considered an option at all.
Yeah, and I don't think every character in a game has to be romanceable. But what I do think it adds to is replayability of the game. Like, right now at this moment, the only reason I would want to replay the game all the way through from beginning to end is to play as a male character this time and romance Panam, right? Because she's so cool, she draws me into the game. So imagine if you have more romance options, the replayability of the game just based on that. And not to mention some of the other paths that you could put in there. It gives it, I don't know. There's got to be some choice in it. I know they're not calling it an RPG anymore, but, it just makes it more fun. It helps you to role play and define your character.
Do you think that they'll change the description once they actually release all the DLCs and expansions?
You want to place bets on it? I think they will. Because I think there's role-playing elements in there that aren't there yet.
Yeah.
I don't want to speculate too much anymore. Because everywhere I look online, there's everyone's saying, oh, big things are coming, speculation about why things are the way they are. I would suspect, and this is speculation, but I suspect that there were more romances planned. And we're not talking about a small thing. I mean, obviously these quests take a lot of work to build and develop. And I feel this is one area where CDPR overpromised and underdelivered. It's one of those areas where I would say that is the case, because I feel like there was a lot more opportunity. We've talked about some of the missed opportunities. There's some great characters in this game that could have done so much more with. Maybe they will in future DLC. Who knows? And that would be great. That would be great. I still love the game. I'm finding like I'm really looking forward to my second playthrough. Yeah, even knowing that it kind of ends up at the same place. But yeah, let's talk about the endings a little bit and how Panam, I mean, obviously is the romance choice. Everyone went nuts over Judy when we were introduced to her, in the Night City Wires and whatnot, but Panam's obviously the character that had the most development. She actually has an ending attached to her. I'd like to get everybody's thoughts about that, thoughts about the endings in general, and also, do you think that the other romance characters, the other romanceable characters, should have had endings as well? Because I do. I absolutely do. And I even wonder if they were planning to have endings attached to all these characters, so instead of just having the Arasaka, Panam, and Rogue endings, you'd also have a Carrie ending, a Judy ending, maybe River and his...
Does River not show up in your apartment at the end, like if you choose the Path of Glory thing? Does anyone know?
Oh, I have no idea.
I'm sure he does. The other three do.
Gotcha.
But I mean, when you do the Panam ending, Panam helps you with your assault on Arasaka Tower. And just like with Rogue. And it's really cool that whoever you choose, like, it happens differently. Like with Rogue, it's this like high-tech op where you go in from up above, and then if you go with the Nomads, you tunnel in underground, and there's this whole thing where you attack a Militech complex. It's like there's different quests with each ending, and it's really neat. Even though you end up in Arasaka Tower at the end. But anyway, to have a Judy ending where she helps you infiltrate the tower and she's like doing net running and stuff for you or something like that.
Well, also she's a Mox, right? Like that's the gang ending, right? If you were a straight kid playing through, of course you'd call Judy and the Mox, and she's doing her thing.
The Mox could help you, and then like you could have River and his cop buddies help you maybe. Maybe he knows, like...
River's useless. We all know he's useless.
He doesn't have any friends at the end.
What do y'all think about this?
So, so I guess you can come up with different endings for all the other romance options, and I'm thinking about Carrie, and I think it would just kind of it'd be kind of like the Rogue, similar to the Rogue ending, but maybe have someone from Johnny's old bandmates, because apparently it seems like someone has to die during the Smasher boss fight. So I'm guessing like someone from the old samurai band probably comes with too, and probably ends up dead. And who I would break my heart if I saw Nancy die. That would break my heart. I'd be like, no, Nancy, because I actually liked her character.
Could you imagine how cool would that be, though? Because Carrie is kind of obsessed with Johnny, right? That's what you told me.
Oh, my God.
So, he would be like, I get to storm Arasaka now. I get to prove to Johnny that I actually do have heart. And you know what I mean? Like, there was all that weird antagonism. They actually could have written that in there, I think, and made that a really cool moment for him as a character to get to prove something.
Exactly. Like, maybe accomplish something that Johnny didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to wonder if they did and just had to cut it for development time or something like that.
And for the ending aspect of it, I was like, what could he possibly do to help V? But then I thought, he has connections, he knows people. Plus there's the Us Cracks, that little pop group that we actually ended up befriending. I love those girls. They're like little sisters to my V. I freaking love them. I want to protect them. Speaking of romances, I was going to say something about Us Cracks. Okay, but I'll come back to that. For the ending, I was thinking that maybe that Carrie could whisk V away to maybe Tokyo, or because that's where Us Cracks said that they were. You get a text from them. They said that they're going back to Tokyo and they were saying goodbye. And I was like, well, what if you go to Tokyo and then the Us Cracks, maybe they have connections too, and maybe like they can get V, a very well-known doctor, to help him with his dying issue.
His dying issue. yeah. There's plenty of opportunities for things like that. Also, I just thought of what Carrie could do to help you with the attack on the tower. He could arrange a big protest concert right outside of Arasaka Tower. I think Johnny did that. Johnny, I think, did something like that in 2020 or one of the tabletop games.
Yeah,
There's
he
a
did.
storyline with. We'll have to ask Mad Queen or Neon or somebody. I can't remember the details, but there was this big protest concert that. Yeah, it was sort of like a diversion to. So you could do this protest concert. So Arasaka sends all of its security force out to like maintain order right outside on their doorstep, and then V could sneak in or something.
Yeah, definitely.
This whole discussion is just making me realize that Takamura should have been the male romance option, not River. Because Takamura could help you. Like, he's got the inside knowledge. And they put him in the bad ending, which really pisses me off. Like, why would they put that amazing character? Out of the 3 main quests, his quest was my absolute favorite. I love Takamura. I love all of our conversations. He was one of the few characters that made me actually like V as a character. It showed her playful side. If he was your romance option, you could totally come up with a scenario where Takamura could help you with that. But River, I guess he could get his niece and nephew to take sort of mental control of robots or something to take.
That'd be cool.
They weren't that. I let those kids win at that game. All right, let's keep it.
Yeah. You'd have to convince Takamura to stop being a corpo or something, though. Unless you want to go with a corpo.
I think you could convince him, though. I think you could convince him, and it would balance the game out in terms of corpo, nomad, Panam, Judy, gang. Right? Like you kind of get that balance in the people that are most important to you, as you do with your origin stories. Like there's no corpo in the game, but Takamura.
And Meredith as a one-night stand. But they could change it around that she is an actual full-blown romance. They
could do that too, yeah.
And they could change Saul into being a romance so you can get that male nomad thing going. I keep forgetting, I kept to mention this, because you brought it up with the whole nomad ending. There was this one part of the Carrie romance that kind of miffed me a bit. So I romanced Carrie, but I went with the nomad ending. And I really do love the nomad ending. I liked it a lot because it does give you a sense of hope at the end of it.
Mm-hmm.
But before V leaves, Carrie meets him at that abandoned area. And he says he can't go with V because he has his career to think about and stuff like that. And honestly, before I talked to him about it, I honestly wanted him to go with V. But when he explained why he can't go, I was like, you know what? For Carrie, this makes sense. Like, as a character, it makes sense. And I can't do anything to influence him to come with me anyway. So it's like, it's no big deal, and it makes sense. What miffed me about it was that at the end credits, and you get the messages, right? Carrie's like, oh, I hope you're having a good time and stuff, and you should come back and visit Night City, and maybe I'll forgive you. And I was like, forgive me for what? What did I do? I'm going to go to Arizona to freaking be alive. I'm sorry. I'm coming back to you.
No one gets forgiven for going to Arizona.
And that made me think that when we first started talking about the whole romance thing, this made me think that did the game think I was choosing Panam over Carrie romantically wise? Because I wasn't.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that Carrie made it seem at first, like he was a little resentful that I chose to go with Panam. But on the other hand, he could have been joking about oh, maybe I'll forgive you, like sarcastic, kind of flirty joke. But I didn't take it as that at first, so I don't know what they were trying to go for with that line of dialogue. But yeah. Other than that, all the ending... Oh my gosh. Also, the Arasaka ending... Sorry, I'm on roll. The Arasaka ending... Oh, it was so heartfelt. It actually... When V was calling all the people he was close to just to talk to them while he was slowly losing his mind, when I got to... I saved Carrie's phone call for last, and when I got to it, it made me tear up because of how vulnerable I realized V's situation was and how desperately he wanted to be back on Earth with the people he loved. And honestly, it broke my heart when Carrie was like, it'll be okay. It'll be, like, he said it softly, like, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. I'll pull strings and get you back on Earth. And I was like, oh my God, this is a lot. It just made me so emotional. And yeah, it was a really sad ending.
My theory is that this is the whole point of the story. Again, planning a video on this, but might as well talk about it a little bit now. I think the story, there's a bit of a thematic element in the fact that you can't change the course of the story too much. Mm-hmm. Now, I mean, like, that was obviously a design decision. Who knows why they made it? There was some shifting of direction during development, that kind of thing. But anyway, this is the story we ended up with, and it's received a lot of criticism for the fact that it doesn't branch. You can't affect the outcome too much, except in this one area of the impact you have on people. And I think that is the central point of the story as it stands right now. This whole game is entirely about the impact that you have on people and the impact that people have on you. And so even in the same circumstances, you can really change somebody's life through the choices that you make, and then, you know, just choosing to care about them, choosing to ignore them, even in subtle ways.
I would 100% be on board with a story like that. I love that concept. I think that is a really cool thing to do in an RPG, to have this monster of a city that just chews you up and you can't do anything about it. And the only thing you have are these personal relationships. If they had created a good chunk of personal relationships to have that happen in. Yeah. In my experience in the game, it really was just Judy and Panam. Loved Takamura, but I had no impact on him. River was okay, but it just didn't have enough depth. I don't know about Carrie because I didn't play with Carrie.
Carrie was kind of useless, to be honest. I love him, but he was useless.
And the thing with Claire, too, I mean, you have an impact on her, but she ends up just shooting a guy in the face in front of me. And I was like, oh, I don't know if that was a good impact. So I feel like if they were going to go that route, they needed to have either more characters or something, right? There had to be, there wasn't enough. I didn't feel enough of that.
That is a changeable outcome, by the way. The way that quest ends with Claire, you can change that.
My V was kind of an idiot. I mean, she got Maiko killed. She got all the Clouds people killed. She got Claire to shoot that guy in the face. I think she just wasn't very smart. Yeah.
I'm just hoping for more character quests.
Yeah,
I agree with I agree with what both of you were saying on this, and that I wish there was more, and I wish there were more ending options. And I agree. Like, I like this whole idea of just being able to, the impact you have on people, that being central. But again, yes, it needs more. There should be more of these options. There should be more of these quests, more options for in real life. Like, you just don't click with everybody. You know, if there's only, you know, if you're on a desert island with somebody and you have to repopulate the human race, and it turns out, actually, let's not go there.
Well, you know, with Panam's Ash, you'll have no problem with that. But, you know, but another thing, I will point this out too, and this is just like me being critical and trying not to be overly critical. But at the same time, when you play a game, you want the things that you're doing to have you want it to be meaningful in some way besides just eddies, right? If you want a game to be more than a looter shooter, you have to have more than just eddies as your reward. And I think everybody knows I rage quit the game at the end of the Cyber Psycho quest, because that was something I was very invested in. I really liked those vignettes of each Cyber Psycho. They were fun encounters. They were really stressful. I'd always squeal as I was doing it because I'm not a very good gamer. And so I really liked that. And, you know, I was like, Regina, she used to be a reporter. There's going to be a payoff. There's some reason. There's something that we're working towards together by keeping these Cyber Psychos alive. And when she handed me Eddie's, that, like, I was like, really? Like, that, is that all this was for? And if the lesson they were trying to teach in that was that nothing you do matters, then it's like, then why am I playing it, right? Like, you have to have a little something, right? You have to have some payoff beyond Eddie's, I think.
Like you said, you can stop Claire from shooting a guy in the head, and with the Maiko and Tiger Claw quest, you can help Judy out with that, and there's different outcomes. With Carrie, that doesn't actually happen. Like, you're kind of just there. So that's why I guess I also don't really like his romance in that aspect, because you don't really affect anything. You're just there for the ride.
I completely agree. I didn't like that. I didn't like the Carrie questline at all for that reason. That specific reason. I couldn't tell him he was being batshit crazy, and he was.
Yeah.
Or you could tell him that. You could tell him that, like, V would do the sarcastic commentary, but it wouldn't change anything.
Yeah.
He'd still just go along with it. And I was like, oh, you gotta be kidding me.
I was actually talking to Terror K, who's a member of the community. What it all led up to was that Carrie's manager, Kovacic, was making deals behind his back, and that he didn't know about. So one of the ways to get revenge was us blowing up his yacht after the snooze do. But we blew up his yacht. And Terror wanted to know if there was anything else that went on with the quest line. And I was like, no, that was the end of it. Literally after the boat scene, like, you finished Carrie's quest. You don't get any more stuff with him after that. Which kind of annoyed me because it was so short.
That's always the worst part with the romance. Is like when you romance this character and then you interact with them later in the game and it hasn't even altered the way they talk to you.
Yes, that was also an issue I had with it.
All right, that wraps up part 3 of our deep dive into Cyberpunk 2077 romance, but there is still more to come. In part 4, we're going to give our final thoughts on the matter, talk about what was good and what was bad, the pros and cons of how romance was done in Cyberpunk 2077, so you definitely don't want to miss that. We'll be back with Timebean and Lady Reaver. And that episode may also include a few bits of the previous discussion that were cut for time. So if you just can't get enough of this discussion, there is more to come. But thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Don't forget to slam that like button, subscribe for tons more content. This is Ash for the Triple S League, and I'll talk to you again very soon. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like, sub, and hit that notification bell, and then check out some of these other videos. Find the link to our Discord server and other important stuff in the description below.